On the Power of Prayer, February 13th, 2014. On December 17th, I received a phone call from my friend Harry Rusk, who is an ordained minister. He asked if I knew of anyone going to the city in 2 days because he needed a ride so that he could fly to Fort Nelson to pray for a friend. I did have a job scheduled, but without hesitation offered to take him to the airport. Besides, it would be a neat way for me to celebrate my birthday on December 19th, having another good visit with Harry on the way into the city. It was in the -30s when we left that morning, so I said a silent prayer, asking that this trip would be trouble-free. On the way in, Harry explained to me that a few days earlier, he heard a voice that commanded him to go to his friend's bedside and pray for her. Over the years, Harry had heard this kind of command several times, but had ignored it only once, and that time the outcome was not good. So whenever the voice commands, Harry obeys. He also explained to me just yesterday that when he phoned his friend's husband in Fort Nelson to make arrangements for the visit, he was informed that they were making funeral arrangements, as they did not expect her to live much longer. We had a good trip to the Edmonton International Airport that very cold morning without incident. We shared many stories during the 2.5-hour ride, and quite frankly, I was honored to be assisting a man of this stature. After all, Harry had performed in the Grand Ole Opry for 22 years, and he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I remember thinking that this was a fantastic way to celebrate my 68th birthday. Since we had plenty of time, we stopped for lunch in Devon and still arrived at the departure level in plenty of time for early check-in. Although we visited a couple times since, it was usually with other people, so we never really had quiet time to discuss what happened on the rest of Harry's trip to Fort Nelson. The following is written in Harry's own words from his newsletter, scheduled for release tomorrow. On December 17th, 2013, Jesus talked to me and asked me to go to Fort Nelson, a long ways away, to pray for Gail P. The hospital sent her home to die. They could not do any more for her. I did as Jesus told me. When I arrived at her home, she was in pains. Besides her failing liver and heart, she also had edema, fluid in her leg tissues, pneumonia. She was very weak and unable to eat. She welcomed me and asked, "Harry, if you could do anything about the leg pains, I would be so thankful." I replied, "I'm not a doctor. I can only do what Jesus asked me to do, pray for you." First, I led her to Jesus. Then, as I normally do with others, I asked Jesus to take away her pains, to heal her from head to her toes, rebuked all sickness, handed her to the Lord to do His almighty works for her, and then left. I went to her local hospital, visited patients, 1 hour, led another old friend to Jesus, then left on the way home. It's now January 31st. I got news that Gail is getting out for outings, eating well. The edema and pneumonia left her right after the prayer. Jesus gets all, entire honor, praise, and glory for another great, wonderful miracle. Others at present are praying for another Gail with cancer in her brain. Please pray with me that Jesus will do another great miracle for her. I know the Lord has already touched her. Amen and amen.